As y'all know, this is the podcast show that does everything that they don't. You are now tuning in to Who They Want podcast, real talk with real people. And today, under the Soul Food Sunday tradition that we are starting to create, I bring to you self-care from the Who They Want team. And sitting on a panel of today's show, we got the great, impeccable Kyle Eric rocking with us today, along with, I'm talking Arthur, playwright specialist, Black woman empowerment poster child, like the phenomenal, amazing. I'm probably giving it too much already in the intro. Ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen, you know her as Fat Girl Freestyle, but I know her as Kimberly Denise. Welcome to Who They Want. Let's get the show on the road.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen. How are y'all doing today?
Can't complain. Wonderful.
Me either. Doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I am recuperating from a weekend of partying, celebrating. So I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Yes. I'm just relaxing, taking it easy, doing my thing on this self-care Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So, yes. What about the two of you? What are you gentlemen doing on this self-care Sunday?
Well, feeling all right. My apartment building just avoided a fire.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Just an hour ago there was a fire in the laundry room, but everybody's fine. Everybody's fine though.
Oh, well, thank God.
Yeah.
And y'all know the big dog is forever great. Hanging out with my grandma, enjoying life, chilling. I wouldn't say I didn't watch no movies today. Well, actually, I take that back. I watched the Space Jam 2 New Legacy. Shout out to LeBron James. Really great movie. I encourage you kids to go see it. Definitely for one for the new era.
Yeah, I gotta agree. It is not as bad as people are making it out to be.
Absolutely. You know? I think it's society's hatred for LeBron, for him being who he is what detoured everybody from making it the movie it should be for kids.
Yeah, but also nostalgia plays a big part.
Yes.
In it, Yeah. Like I love Space Jam 1, but I know it's not a masterpiece. I know that it's a commercial vehicle, and this was definitely a promotional vehicle. But I have to say this: LeBron had more to do than Mike did.
True statement. Yeah. True statement. You got to see him more
to do than Mike did, and the message was a bit more about family and letting your kids be themselves instead of because they had this whole thing about his son not wanting to play basketball, and it's like, why can't I relate to this? Why is he just want to have his head in a game? I'm like, oh wait, so you person who plays a game in real life are only mad because your child wants to play a virtual game which was inspired by the real game. I'm over here over analyzing everything, but
yeah, but you're right. You made good points on how it does play an effect on the messages as men of being a father figure to your child. No matter how busy you get, life is not a game. Like, you got to be serious enough to pay attention that something can happen in a matter of seconds that could just end it all. So I just think us implementing from a guy's perspective today's show on self-care is you got to, pay more attention to those that you love.
Did we just use Space Jam as a springboard to talk about mental health? Is that what we just did?
That's the way we just fired the opening. Yes, we did.
I think so.
Love it. I love it.
I think so. I think it's important as a community. And when I say community, I'm talking about us, the Black community. Mm. It's important that we address self-care as a whole, not just for women, but for men as well. And it's not something that you hear a lot about. I think we have this perception that men are just strong and can push through anything and can get through anything and can deal with anything because y'all are men. And that's not true.
Yeah.
Because you are a human being, and human beings have feelings and emotions, and human beings need to be nurtured. And that's why we have so much dysfunction in our community, because we have this narrative that Black men have to be a certain way. We tell our children, and I'm speaking from a perspective as a mom here, because I have 2 sons. We tell our children, don't cry, boys don't cry, suck it up, be strong. And we don't realize the damage that we're doing to our kids as they grow into manhood. It's a very damaging thing to tell them that. And I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine one day. We were on the phone and his son was crying. And he told his son that exact same thing. Don't cry, you're a boy. And I told him, I said, stop. I said, don't say that. I said, because you're activating toxic masculinity when you tell him that. I said, allow him to express himself. And I think once men adopt that it's okay for me to care for myself and express myself, my feelings, emotions, and just take time out, then I think the community will really start to heal. So, yeah. So what do you guys do for yourselves as part of your self-care routine, if you have one? Are you developing one? Are you thinking about developing one? And what does self-care mean to the 2 of you?
I'll take it away first.
Oh, okay. All right. So I've actually been talking about this a lot lately. And what I do for myself personally is I have people I can talk to. I have my family. I go to therapy every other week. I have my mom got me into essential oils and deep breathing and stuff like that. I do Tai Chi. I listen to a lot of music. So there's a lot of things that I do to help myself. My friends and extended family, we talk about how we're feeling all the time, regardless of where we are. Like if we have something to get off our chest, then one of us will be like, okay, let's go over here and let's talk about it. And for some reason, because this has been going on for a decade plus now, that me and my extended family have been like this. And and some of us are married, some of us have kids, but we always find time to talk things out with each other, even if we don't see each other on a normal basis. We know we can come to one another and just talk things out if we need to. So knowing that you have that kind of support system really helps. And I have to give it up to everybody in my life for giving me the support and just making it okay. Now, I'm not saying that everything is perfect, because I've also had that whole not the boys don't cry thing. I've had the don't talk about going to therapy thing. That happened to me one time at work, and I had to explain to someone that I'm not ashamed. No one should be ashamed. If you are going to therapy for any reason, and you're okay with talking about it, we should normalize it, because that's the thing. The whole idea of men have to be this way, women have to be this way. And I love my women, I love my queens, but we always talk about double standards as it pertains to women. Right. And when it comes to men, they have us on this double standard thing too. We have to be like this. We have to be raised to be like this. Now things are starting to change. Right. But speaking as a Black man, it's a little slower for us because of history. So at least from my perspective. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. So having conversations just like this one, that is part of my self-care system for myself. You know?
Fantastic. Awesome.
Wonderful.
Well. Where should I begin? Well, I'm gonna come from the zodiac sign perspective of being a Pisces, so that means my water spirit, draws me towards being by the water, sitting at the lake and just letting go, like finding self-centered balance in meditation. Because I like to be alone, like as an introvert, I'm used to that alone setting. It's nothing against nobody, but I just find myself with the self meditations, and I'm into the crystals and things like that, drawing strength and energy, using them in a positive perspective play. And that's kind of my thing. And like you say, I have a great social circle as well, where I can get together and we can go, okay, once a month, we probably just get together for like a weekend and go, all right, let's go ahead and put all the negative things that done happened. We pile them up, put them on the table, and then you just release them in the air, let them go, be done. And you walk away because the next day, I'm a firm believer of a new day, new chapter. So every day I wake up in a different mindset of I got to do something differently than what I did yesterday. If it's nothing more than, maybe changing my outfits or styling my locks a certain way just to kind of, prep myself up and just get it go. Because I'm going to always smile regardless, no matter how damaging life may appear. I won't let you see me cracking up. So that's kind of my play.
So I have another question. Well, kind of two questions. So Steady Rock, you mentioned crystals. And that's something else you don't hear a lot of men talk about. Crystals and stones, we normally associate that with something women do. But I love the fact that you brought that up because, again, we are all souls having this experience. So to me, anything spiritual or anything enlightening or anything that offers peace or growth in your life, it shouldn't be like a male or female thing. We have to break these ideas that, oh, that's just for women, or oh, that's just for men, because we have to connect. Again, we are souls. We have to connect. So I love the fact that you talked about your crystals. I want to know how you got into that and your experience. What has that been like? I don't know if Kyle is into that, but I would love to know. And then the second thing is, how do men heal from trauma? If you guys have experienced any trauma in your life, how do you heal yourself from it? Like, what has your process been?
Ooh, dope. Okay. Well, to open up on question one in regards to the crystals, it was me on my journey into spirituality and understanding the full circumference of what it represents, what it means, and making that my full focus. And then meeting a friend, Mistress Dazzy, who along with the team, she introduced me to them and what they represent, what they mean. And I have a cousin as well that's into them, big on them as well. So I got introduced to a whole world of studying them and what they do, and wearing the bracelets and wearing these specific things, and actually feeling the empowerment from it, embracing it on a positive channel. And it just changed my whole world. To just answer that question, like, I love it. Like, meditation is what I do because I find myself at peace, because I'm an overthinker. And then I can lay my crystals out and then say my quick prayers or whatever I want to do, give it to God at that point, and then I'm like, okay, what's new? I'm rejuvenated, ready to start a new chapter. So yeah. Now, for question number two, opening up on trauma. That one, I gotta say, it takes a lot. And to piggyback on yesterday's show with Bliz D about inner strength, I think it comes from inner strength of, you you making a character. My biggest reference has always been dealing with trauma, has always been, to quote The Lion King, my favorite movie, but when Simba and Mufasa had that conversation about the great circle of life and how things play its balance, and it becomes a part of, this has to happen at some point in life, and there's nothing you can do to change it, but you just need to know your placement in that circle of life, is how I choose to look at it from that perspective. Take it away, Cal.
That was great. That was great. I don't have that much experience with crystals. I do like I do like the idea of them and what they represent. I always try to keep my positive energy up, and like I said, my mother got me into essential oils and things like that. And I'm always looking for a way to heal myself without taking like anything like from the pharmacy, unless I absolutely need it. Like even my friends who will go straight to a pharmacy. They've occasionally asked me, "Hey, you got anything for a headache? Or you got anything for this?" Like when my little niece, she was about 3 years old, she was constantly getting sick. It felt like every month she had something. And part of me was like, I get it. She's young. Her immune system is building up. At the same time, my instinct was to ask my mom, "Hey, what can we do to help her? What can we do to help her?" So I'm looking up a recipe to help her with this headache or help her with this fever. And I call my best friend, her father, and I'm like, "Well, I got some medicine. I got some medicine for her." And he's like, "Oh, really?" "Yeah." I'm like, I got a little something for it, just in case. Just, here's the oil combination. Here's the here's the carrier stone, for it. If you need it, it's basically a natural diffuser. Use that if this comes up again. Or like one time my best friend and his wife, they were having like back problems and sleeping problems, and the first thing that came to my mind was, what, I got some extra lavender oil. If y'all want that, that could help. That could help you sleep. And they used it, and it did help. And also when I'm feeling sick, I looked up this, like, my mom had looked up this like natural, this natural like tonic that included like ginger, lemon, turmeric, and a few other things, right? And I give a version of that to my friends when they, just jokingly said, "Hey, we need you to mix us up something because we're not feeling well." So I immediately mixed it up in the mason jar, gave it to my homegirl, and then a month later she says, "I hated that stuff." I'm like, "Did it work?" She's like, she didn't want it. So it's just like, and I'm not saying I'm totally, disregarding the medical field, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. But at the same time, I try my best to, try to live more of a natural life the older I get. Because really, if I knew then what I knew now, it'd probably be a totally different story. But better late than never, I guess. And as far as trauma, I've been through a few traumatic situations. I've had 4 major surgeries in my life, and even though I can only remember 3 of them, they've all kind of left an impact on my mind that I will never forget. Like, I can't forget, being kind of tricked on the operating table as a young kid, having that mask strapped to my face, and then waking up like 6 hours later, dizzy and wanting to throw up, and I can't move. That will never leave my mind. And as a result, sometimes when I go to hospitals, my anxiety just starts to go up, which is also the reason why I never went into the medical field, even though I wanted to as a kid. I wanted to become a doctor to help kids like me, but I couldn't get past that. But now I can, now I can talk about it on platforms like this, and that really helps. So even though I can't change what happened, I can also think about the positives that left me with, because without that, I wouldn't be walking the way I do, So even though that was a traumatic experience, there was a lot of positives that came with it too. So that's how I deal, that's how I dealt with that as far as trauma is concerned.
Awesome sauce.
You mentioned something interesting, Kyle. When you were talking about the oils and mentioning your niece, her being sick, you said something very interesting. You said your instinct. And that's something else that is important, because we don't hear enough men talk about their instinct. But let me say this. You are a natural healer. So I don't know if that's something that you're exploring or something you've been thinking about, but you are a natural healer, Kyle. And I would love to see you grow and develop that part of your life. Because when you said instinct, it made me smile, because again, we are naturally in tune with certain things. It's just that we're so disconnected from it that it just doesn't ring with us. And our reaction is always, oh, I have to go to the doctor, or I have to take this medication, or oh, I have to take that medication, rather than just really listening and paying attention like you did and saying, hey, let's try this, this, and this. So I think that's very interesting, because again, we don't hear men talk about their instincts that lead them to do things. It's just not anything that you hear. It's always associated with women, but we all have it. We all have it. And I just think that's so interesting that you said that. But yeah, I think you have a natural healer vibe going on, Kyle. And I would love to see you grow in that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
This is an interesting segment. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off? Steady right?
Nope, not at all. I was just going to say, I love you narrating the whole show. I love it. It's
right.
Listen, I don't want to take over, but I just know that there are so many things that come into my mind at times, just questions that I want to ask. And I feel like we are developing a community of, and I'm going to say misfits, and not misfits in a bad term, but misfits as in people who, like myself, who are fringe dwellers. And when I use the term fringe dweller to describe myself, people ask me what that means. I have it on my logo, on my, I think it's in my Instagram profile too. A fringe dweller is someone who is on, I guess you would say, the outskirts of what is considered quote unquote normal society. Me, in my personal opinion, normal society isn't normal at all. It's quite dysfunctional. It's quite abnormal. And people don't want to say that, but it's the goddamn truth. Okay? If I must speak freely.
Speak on it. So
it is quite abnormal. And so misfits, I think this is how we are supposed to be. People are supposed to be odd and quirky, and people are supposed to be able to just kind of feel their way into things and through things and be very free-spirited and be very open. And, not everything is supposed to match. Not everything is supposed to go together. Sometimes things are awkward and odd. And again, not in a bad sense.
No.
In a very good sense, because that's how it's supposed to be. But people want to conform so badly. Men and women, we want to conform so badly into these roles that I don't even know who designated this shit. Excuse my language, but they're completely wrong. And I'm going to take it a step further. Since I'm talking to you two guys, I want to know exactly how you feel about sexuality and sexual identity. I want to hear it from a man's perspective because, and allow me to just kind of flow here because this is something I wanted to talk about on one of my podcasts and I didn't do it, but I'm going to bring it up here. I overheard a conversation between two guys and I wasn't in a place where I could be like, excuse me, let me let me ask you this question because I knew it was going to lead to a confrontation. And quite frankly, I wasn't for getting arrested that day. But I digress. I digress. But I listened to these two black men talk about, one was saying something about, I don't know if he was talking about his kid or a nephew or something. And he was like, yeah, and I told them, don't be turning him into no effing sissy. Don't be letting him be no punk. And I thought to myself, really? Like, that's the worst thing to y'all? Like somebody being a quote unquote sissy or a punk, like that's the worst thing. Like we have so many predators in our community. Mm-hmm. Like how about, oh, don't let that kid grow up to be an abuser. Oh, don't let that kid grow up to be a rapist. Oh, don't let that kid to be, it's always, don't let them be no sissy. Don't let them be no punk. That's the worst thing that they could possibly be. Mm-hmm. But again, it goes with the toxic masculinity that is prevalent in our community. But I feel like, and y'all can give y'all opinion on this, I feel like, again, it goes back to what we talked about a few minutes ago, making male children suppress their feelings and emotions and pushing them to a point where they cannot fully express who they are is why we have so much of this homophobia in our community. And people need to understand, and this is my opinion, it's my personal opinion, I'm not trying to tread on anyone, but to me, sexuality is fluid. It is a fluid thing. There is no specific gender it should have or any specific gender identity it should have. It is a fluid thing. And I feel like men should be in touch with their feminine side just as women should be in touch with their masculine side because we all have it. It's all a part of who we are. But we are taught, again, that this is one way and this is this way. And that's all there is. And I completely and totally disagree with that. And that's why I say I am a fringe dweller and I enjoy being part of the crew of misfits. That is like my tribe. Those are my people. So now I'm going to bring it back to Steady Rock and Kyle because I want to hear your opinions on this.
Absolutely. Okay. Great way to introduce season 4, by the way. I love it. And I said we was going to get tougher and grittier. So shout out to all my listeners. First of all, I want to open it up by saying that. Kimmy, shout out to you for the support. I see you over there in the comment section rocking with us.
Kimmy Cole. Woo woo.
You already know. But to get straight to the point here, I agree with everything you just said as far as that goes, because I think it's all about the miseducation. I'll start from that angle instead of saying education. It's a miseducation because in your upbringing, you're always trained to have rejections towards these set things. You don't want to be called by those vernacular terms that they use. You always want to be, you're a boy, you should be with a girl, and vice versa. And then of course you have those that go from the religious perspective, but I'm not going to dive into that angle yet right now. But I just want to just feel like, again, freedom is a choice. Your identity, you discovering your identity is for you to discover. It's not for someone to bestow upon you. Mm-hmm. Walk in your light, walk in your truth, and be happy with it. Don't be defined by, such thing as genders or whatever the case may be. I don't feel like you should put restraints on just those by name. Like, identify me as who I am for what I bring from my life. My gift is my purpose. It's the angle I'll play from. And I'm cool with being me. You know, I love being who they want. And you should love being who they want. And then I'm gonna let Kyle give y'all a little more educated term, because that's my man right there, Kyle Eric. Y'all already know. Go ahead and hit it to him, bro.
Respect. Honestly, when it comes to like gender and gender identity, I'm glad that we're now talking about this, because growing up in the I know it was worse for people like in the 80s and down, especially in the 60s and other stuff. But growing up in the 90s, I remember distinctly. There was this when puberty started setting in, right? And I started noticing females, right? When I started noticing females, and everybody was like, "Oh, who do you like in class? Who do you like in class? Who do you like in class?" Right? I was the shy guy, so who couldn't talk to women. Like, I was around women all the time, thanks to the fact that my mom was. I have a lot of strong women in my family, and my mother was a beautician. So growing up around the shop, I was, exposed early to certain conversations having to do from the female perspective. So, and I grew up with a younger sister and a lot of, older female cousins. So I always had that idea of you just treat everybody, equally. But occasionally that toxic masculinity would slip out, that ignorance would slip out, like, oh, girls shouldn't play basketball, stuff. My great grandmother, because she's old school, she would be like, oh, girls shouldn't be playing football, all that stuff. But then when it came to who do you like? Are you gay or, straight, right? We'd have those conversations. And in school, it would be like, so what if you found out your son was gay, right? Now, keep in mind, this was like 7th to 8th grade, so we didn't know jack, right? So they're like, oh, see, the guys would be like, if they had a son and they said they started liking boys, then they're like, oh, I'm gonna slap the mess out of them until they're straight again. Like, what? And I was one of the only ones to say, as long as they're happy, that's it. But at the same time, I was kind of being brought up in certain religious sectors to say you should, and they honestly said this when I used to go to this camp. They honestly said this. They argue the men with men, animal with animal thing, right? And then they would say, oh, you should pity them and you should feel sorry for them because this, that, and the third, and the Bible says this and this crap right here. And I'm like, what? Wait, you're getting mad at human beings? I always thought it had something to do with the fact that they can't breed, but that was just me. That was just me overthinking it. Is this where that comes from? But to me, it's like, look, if you're happy and you are just living your life. I've had people come out to me like it's a big deal. I'm like, cool, all right, nice. And it wasn't like, let's move on to the next subject where I'm getting uncomfortable with it. I'm like, you're my friend. I never thought you were going to do anything to me just because we're both guys. And that's where that fear comes from. People forget that the term homophobia means fear, right? So are you telling me you're afraid of a guy who happens to like other guys? Just because they like guys does not mean they like you in that way, right? Just like a girl who likes a girl doesn't mean they're going to like every girl, right? So once you get past that, it's like, okay, cool. They're people. They just happen to like something different. Big deal. It really is just big deal. But I had to learn that in like middle school to high school. Now it's like it ain't ain't even a big deal. And I'm glad that we're able to talk about this more, because I was just watching something where they were talking about representation on on American television, and how they basically had to hide it, even though you knew that person, that character was of the LGBT community, but that's a whole different story.
Bravo, Kyle. Bravo. Like, I loved everything that you said, especially when your friend came out, you were like, okay, all right, congratulations. Right. I don't know what you want me to say.
Right. That part was definitely a applaudable moment.
Right. Like, you're supposed to be who you are, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I always redirect to our community, because it's important that we heal, and we have to heal on so many levels. And I think the core of it is that our identity, who we are as a people, has been so manipulated for centuries that so many of us are just disconnected from who we are. And thankfully, a lot of us are finding our way back to who we are again. I'm grateful for that. I'm seeing it a lot more. So, and I'm going to say this, and again, this is my opinion, but Kyle mentioned something, and I just want to say religion was one of the worst things that could have possibly happened to Black folks. And again, my opinion, because we are inherently spiritual people, and religion disconnected us from that. They were putting us in chains with one hand and handing us a Bible with another. And they did the same thing to the Afro-Indigenous. I say Afro-Indigenous. Some people say Native Americans, but to me, they're the same people. They gave them smallpox on blankets and handed them Bibles. So what good has it done? What good has religion done for people? Because to me, it's always been connected to war and trauma and illness and conquering people, murder, et cetera, et cetera. So,
discrimination, all of that.
Yes, exactly.
The whole 9 yards.
The whole 9 yards. And while I am a person who believes everyone should have their freedom of whatever they want to believe in,
right,
I do not do the whole religion conversation, because to me it's nonsense. And I really want to ask Black people sometimes, like, how can you sit in a church and listen to a book, listen to stuff that comes out of a book that, if you really pay attention to it, it just doesn't make any sense, some of it. It doesn't. Like, it demonizes a woman for having a period.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, how do you make this make sense? Like, how do you decide that this is going to be the book that you live by? And personally, again, taking it back to the whole like spiritual aspect, I've read the Psalms, and to me, a lot of that shit is like spell work. But oh my God, don't say that, because then you just opening the door. You going to hell. You are the devil. How dare you say the Bible has spells?
Man.
But to me, that's what it is.
Man, listen, you're tearing down walls right now. Okay? Because us as Black people, right? They get us immediately with the books, with the scripture. People will say it with conviction. And the reason why I got out of religion, even though I respect those who are still in it, because we're all people, right? Okay. But the reason why I got out of it was that exact reason. I saw people stopping friendships because of something they read in whatever scripture it was. I saw people condemning other people's religion. I went to a very conservative Christian camp from age 14 to 19. And even though I did have some of my best memories there, I also had some of my, that time also gave me a lot of time to really think. And it wasn't for me. All they did was tell you this, this was wrong. They want you to do this, or you have to do this way. And then that was it. Certain music wasn't allowed. There was a time where we would have somebody had a literal like honk for Jesus sign, and like I said, they did question, they did constantly tell you that, homosexuality was wrong, all of that. While at the same time preaching peace and tolerance. So it was to me, it was very hypocritical. But I didn't realize this until I was 19 years old, and somebody had asked the speaker of that week, is worshiping Mary in Catholicism, is that idol worship? And without missing a beat, the speaker said yes, right? Speaker says yes. What about Judaism? And he said every other religion is going to hell. Said this in front of It said this in front of impressionable kids who all came from different backgrounds. And the year before, I think I might be mixing my memories because he came twice. The year before he came to speak. And he told us a story about how he basically converted a gay drag queen to a straight person, right? Mm-hmm. And he gives us the whole rundown of how they met and what this guy's life was like in that scene and what he's like now. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, this dude was bragging, like. He basically was bragging about converting someone. Mm. I've even had one particular day where somebody thought I was Muslim based on my beard, and I was at work. It's like,
oh wow.
So yeah, and I know he didn't mean anything harmful by it, but he was like one of the, he was one of those, like happy-go-lucky looking, white Christian dudes. And every Sunday he would, he would come by my station with his daughter. I used to do events. I used to be an event specialist. I would do like food sampling, and they would come to our stations to talk to us, and they weren't even talking about, religion or whatever. But there was one time where his daughter tried to say, like, do you believe? And and I believe you did, but at some point you lost your way. He looks at me one time, and I had my beard was about down to here, right? And it was like short, but it was like down to here. So he makes a joke. It was around Easter. He makes a joke, and he compares me to Osama bin Laden, and then asks me if I'm Muslim, and then tries to get me to go to his church for Easter service. And he did this all within minutes of us talking. And I explained to him, like, no, I'm not. I don't subscribe to, to a religion or anything. I didn't explain why, because like I said, I wanted to give this man respect. But he just kept going. And even though I guess in his mind he had the best of intentions, the first thing that came to my mind was, have you ever met a black person? I know you're not being racist, but this seems a little suspect, man. Like, I know there's got to be some black people in your church. That's going on in my head. I'm like, I know there's got to be black people in your church. Ask them. I know they got to have beards. I know they gotta be, they gotta look a certain way. Why am I the one being pointed out right now? Oh, because I'm not the only black person in this line. Why am I? But
you were targeted.
That was the angry black man in me. That was the angry black man in me. But anyway, I've ranted enough. But I hear what you say, because along with chains, they gave us religion. They gave us religion, and even in one of the passages, they have a whole thing about how to treat your slave.
Yes,
and that is like, hold on, y'all kept that in? Hold on a second. Oh, I know why. Because you literally use it to keep us ignorant and dumb, so we don't do anything to you. Okay. Yeah.
Checkmate. Brilliant minds on this episode, ladies and gentlemen.
All part of the programming.
All part of the program.
Yeah. And what's crazy is, like, people use the term God-fearing. And I don't like that term, because I'm like, God is not to be feared. God, universe, whatever, however you refer to it, it's not to be feared. So, and again, I am pointing the finger at religion. Mm-hmm. And my parents, who grew up Catholic, who had parents who were devoutly Catholic, at 14 years old, I stopped going to church. And I told my mom, I said, I don't feel like it's okay for someone to stand in a pulpit and tell me or anyone else that what we're doing, how we're living our life, is wrong. I said, I disagree with that. Like, my soul is not a used car. I don't need a salesman as a middleman between me and God. So she called me a heathen for a very long time. But eventually she understood that my journey was more of a spiritual one, mm-hmm. and a religious one. Mm-hmm. And I can go anywhere. Anybody can go anywhere and talk to God. And I've had experiences in my life to where I know it's the universe working in my favor and looking out for me. And I just don't. And let me say this, nothing against anyone who goes to church or reads the Bible. You know, I'm a person, I believe in giving people space for whatever they're connected to. Mm-hmm. I don't judge them on anything. You believe what you believe. But don't tell me or anyone else that we're wrong because of what we believe, and we're allowing space for you. People have these misconceptions about people who are spiritual. I've heard, like, I have crystals and different things, and people are like, oh, you into that voodoo. You into that voodoo. You do that voodoo stuff. And I'm like, nah, it's spirituality. You want to give this weird, you want to put these weird intentions on it, when in actuality, it's the same thing. Y'all on Easter, Kyle talked about Easter, on Easter Sunday, y'all worshiping a man who came back from the dead. That sounds like some voodoo shit to me.
Like, really, that sounds like necromancy. Like, yeah. Like when I found out the whole the other side of Easter that was originally a pagan holiday,
yes,
a fertility holiday. I'm like, that's the reason for the eggs, because after a while you realize rabbits don't lay eggs. So why are the eggs so symbolic? But then it was like a whole fertility thing. Mm-hmm. The rabbit was for the kids. Rabbits, rabbits, they like to do what they do.
Yes.
Yes. But it's like hold on a second. hold on 1 second. You're what are you trying to do? We're going on Easter egg hunts for candy? Okay, that's at least what they tell us, right? They commercialize the heck out of Easter. Easter has a mascot. Mm-hmm. But once you do like some research and wonder where the term Easter came from, plus the whole thing around it, it would be a whole different story. Because people would be like, why are you teaching my kid about fertility at this young of an age? Nobody has ever said that, but now it's like, you know what? Let them have fun. Let them have fun. as far as the resurrection in 3 days thing, like sometimes I'll joke and say Happy Zombie Jesus Day to someone like
I like that.
You know, like happy because think about it. If you really believe that he died on a cross, you think he's gonna look great when he gets out of when he comes back? Like they got him looking like he just came from the gym. Like every time you got him looking like he just came from the gym, and he's on a cross with a crown of thorns. That you don't think that would be scary? They supposedly drove the thorns into his head. So really, he would look a lot uglier than. I'm just saying. If you've seen zombie movies, nobody that comes back from the dead looks like they did when they died. So, but it's just things that you think about, like later on, And not to mention the whitewashing, but that's not to mention the racism that they use to justify that in their book, in their scripture. So, well,
when I say we were stepping on some toes in season 4, I didn't mean we was going for the whole foot.
Yeah, sorry. I just think about this a lot.
No need to apologize.
My whole life.
Real talk.
Don't apologize.
Yeah.
Exactly. Never apologize for how you feel.
Don't apologize, Kyle. This is all part of soul food. This is all part of self-care. Being able to express yourself, your
100.
feelings, your thoughts, your emotions in a safe space without judgment.
100%.
So this is what it's all about. So don't ever apologize. And something else I say all the time, we are not talking to children. We're talking to adults, and they could like it or they could not. And that's your two choices. And either one is fine. Yeah. So don't ever apologize, Kyle.
No, I'm enjoying it. So when I say that, I was like, this is just amazing. I'm amazed at the way things are structurally building. And I'm mad. I'm going to go ahead and use this time since we got like a little under 10 minutes left of showtime. I'm mad at the rest of the cast for not joining this beautiful Sunday episode. So I don't need nobody blowing me up first thing tomorrow talking about what time we working tomorrow, boss. I'm probably going to take the day off tomorrow just because of this. I'm being petty at this very moment. Continue with the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I went a little long.
No, again,
don't apologize.
Stop.
I know. Yeah.
We who they want. We do what we do.
Yeah.
This is why I said the podcast show that does everything that they don't do.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Again, this is the Misfits crew. We do and say what everybody else can't and won't because they're too afraid to offend people or hurt somebody's feelings but people need truth. People need truth, whether they want it or not. People need truth because people have grown incredibly comfortable with lies. And something else that I have learned over the last few years, something I've not learned, but something I've realized, people love being misled. People enjoy being misled. And I'm just not one of those people. We're not those people. You have to exist in truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, because that is what life is supposed to be. This is not social media where people can show you whatever they want you to see. This is real life. And that's just what it is. And authenticity, that's right, Kimmy Cole.
Authenticity.
You hear me?
Which is something which is something that you don't get a lot of these days. I mean, let's be honest. How many people you follow on social media that filter their pictures? And then you see them in person, and it's like, girl, who are you? Or like, who are you? Where did you come from? Because that's not the same person. So it is what it is. And maybe it's because I'm turning 45 on Thursday. I don't know. Perhaps it's the Cancer energy. Perhaps it's because I'm a Cancer Leo cusper. Perhaps it's the Gemini energy that I carry in my chart. I don't know. But I know one thing. I'm going to say and feel how the fuck I feel. And that's on that. Straight up. And I don't apologize for it. And Kyle, you should never apologize for it. Not ever. Okay?
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for just being you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Right. Let's give her flowers. Oh, dude.
Yes. Yes. Let's give this sister her flowers. Happy early birthday.
Thank you. I think this is a wonderful way to spend a weekend of celebrating. This is a wonderful way to close it out. And I really appreciate each of you for being here. I appreciate everyone for listening. This is like, y'all just don't understand what this does for me on a self-care Sunday. Y'all just don't understand what this does for my soul. So thank you both, gentlemen. And thank you, Kimmy, for being here with us.
Absolutely. Big shout out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yo, I enjoyed this segment. This has definitely been an eye-opener. So I guess tonight's affirmation will be, I'd rather you hurt me with the truth than comfort me with a lie.
Yeah.
That'd be the affirmation for tonight.
Yes.
So keep living your truths, keep living your best life, keep celebrating whatever birthdays y'all got coming. Because when March of 2022 roll around, it's all about Pisces, but we ain't that far yet. So I just want to throw that out just because I'm petty again. It wouldn't be me if I didn't be the petty one in the show.
No, about a month ago. I mean, we're still in July.
Right. I'm sick of this.
Your birthday was a month ago, Kyle?
Yeah, June 10th. I turned 34.
So you're a Gemini.
Yes.
Yeah, you're a Gemini. Okay. See, you're a Gemini. My rising sign is Gemini. My moon is in Gemini. And Steady Rock is a Pisces, which means he's another water sign, which is why we're connected. See, the universe does everything for a reason and a purpose. That's why I say it's not to be feared. It's not to be feared. It is to be embraced. But I digress because we got what, 3 minutes left?
Yeah.
Who wants to close us out, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Close us out with some words of wisdom.
You see how solid it got.
No, honestly, I just want to say, just like we've been saying, live your truth, live your truth. And the real ones, they will find you.
Yes.
They will find you, whether it be family or friends, the people that you have that connection with, that positive, uplifting connection with, they will find you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, I would like to close out the show by saying you can also find this show for audio purposes on anchor.fm/WhoDeyWantENT. Tune in to our show. This is just the beginning of some all new material, all new content, all new love, new cast. Much love to the cast that's been there from the beginning as well. I don't throw no shade to nobody. That's the type of brother I am. But we ain't going to get that far because I was being petty again. So I just want to say, live your best life. Love who you can love, because at any waking moment, that love you want to garnish can be taken away from you. So don't let it be taken advantage of. And this has been Who They Want Podcast. You have tuned in with us, and I hope to see you back for further shows. And we're out, ladies and gentlemen.